How's it going, ladies, gentlemen, that thing in between? You already know what this is, as I've probably had it scheduled to premiere a week in advance, and it should go without saying that this video is long overdue, so without any further delay, I'm going to get right into it, and then I'll explain as we go. So approximately 7 months ago, an isolated incident occurred where I explained in my initial video responding to the controversy. TLDR, I didn't set enough boundaries, and that person and I really quickly developed a very unhealthy parasocial relationship, and for a short period of time, things would occasionally spiral way out of control. And I'm not mentioning this to use it as an excuse, and I understand that to some this may seem insignificant for the time being, but we will have to go over this later, and that is that during these events, my mental health would degrade to the point that I developed very severe mental illnesses. During this unhealthy parasocial relationship, something that would occur frequently is the other individual by the name of Asta would take advantage of my empathy and kind of drag me around and just beg me to stay in calls with them, whether it be sleep calls or just joining different servers and group chats with them. They would confide in me about their suicidal tendencies and their depression that they were struggling with due to their many alleged past traumas. Now, outside of all of my empathy and sympathy for this individual, we also had got along well before they even opened up about their, well, in short, we'll just describe it as their baggage. Not only did we have a lot of similar takes and they agreed with a lot of the takes I had in my videos, but we also had a very similar sense of humor, or at least that's what I thought at the time. Needless to say, my judgment was very clouded in the events that followed. The first and only event that, I repeat, was an isolated incident that everyone seems to be up in arms about was the following clip.
What should I cut?
What?
What should I cut into me?
My name.
Really? Okay.
Bessie.
I'll do it on cam. Hold on.
Yeah, that's Bessie.
God, she's actually
That'd
got
be funny.
Let me tap my skincare.
but like not deep, because then like no, don't leave any evidence.
Okay.
Yeah.
My food dog strap chat and like force him to join. Yeah, that'd be best as fuck. So I might just stalk him, like force him to join. If he doesn't join, you just like go to his address. Yeah. I've never seen crap chat in real life. I don't know how he looks like.
I don't know if I spelled anything right because I can't see because of my light. Hold on. I mean, I kind of got it. Hold on. I'll fix it.
Epic. Epic. Alright, now like go like force a napkin on it and like hang it on your wall. No.
No, it is. Hold on.
It's fine.
I don't think it.
It's okay. We all know what it is though. We know what it means.
Turn up it.
Cumb. I'm kidding. It looks
Oh
like
yeah, that's what I was gonna call with you.
with me or him?
With him.
Is that your leg or your arm?
Yeah.
Can't tell.
It's my leg. Hold on.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's my leg.
Oh, God.
Let me take a picture of this.
Oh no.
Oh, so-
I'm gonna get canceled, dude.
Who has OBS open?
I do.
Nobody-
What are you gonna do about it?
Clip that. Clip you saying cut Kumo.
Welcome back, everyone. Now that you are done listening, as I hope you've listened to it in its entirety, there are a bunch of things that we need to quickly go over, many of which can be audibly observed. And to start, we're going to go over the fact that not only is this clip blatantly out of context, it was made clear that that was the intent of the clip.
Clip that. Clip you saying cut Kumo.
I've been made aware that most people who actually observe this clip don't go into it with an open mind, and they all just take everything extremely at face value. And if you've done that, you've already failed. Many people, some of which who take a lot of pride in their observational skills, tend to point out the obvious in this clip. And the problem with that is you're taking something at face value that was made with the intent to deceive you. So a sizable group of people have made it very apparent to me that they only intend to acknowledge things that they can observe at face value. My only real issue with this is when you LARP as Barry Allen or fucking Batman. This is a problem when many glaring red flags fly over your head. The least glaring being that this clip was blatantly out of context. I'll cut you some slack, that's why I started with that point. Those of you who have already passed judgment only signify that you have a confirmation bias, because I shouldn't have to tell you that a bad source warrants skepticism, not that you should have taken this with a grain of salt, but the entire salt shaker. The next glaring red flag is that there seems to be a lot of comments that come off as out of place. No, that's not just your imagination. No, that's not just us being awkward. That's because the party recording the call in the first place doesn't have their mic input set up within the recording.
What should I cut?
What?
Now, with this in mind, I wish a lot of people would stop pretending like they're so observant. No, in this clip, Asta and I aren't fucking psychic reading each other's minds and blarping like some freaks that are talking to our imaginary friend. No, there actually is another individual that you just can't hear in this call. This is made blatantly apparent, and this is not only made blatantly apparent, but it's a very glaring red flag, as at the beginning of the call, you can hear someone having what seems to be a one-sided conversation about doxing an individual, and they go on to use phrases and say words that one would use to acknowledge that you are listening to another individual when having a dialogue. He was not just talking to himself. These are only two of the red flags that should have already signified to you that this isn't a good source and that you should have remained skeptical. Now, the other reason that this is so significant is that after I made my initial response where I referenced these events, people immediately started posting and sharing this clip around as if it was some sort of gotcha, and they were pushing the rhetoric that I was a liar and it was a blatant confirmation bias. I was being called a liar simply because things that I alleged were not confirmed in the clip, in a clip that already creates more questions than it gives answers. So forgive me if you feel I'm being too brazen in this video, but you people are fucking ridiculous. Now, the third red flag isn't entirely displayed in the video. What is displayed in the video is why it's a red flag. So the third red flag is that in the very beginning, Asta was being portrayed as a victim by people who actually knew nothing of what they were talking about. This would later be walked back as I decided I would just finally air everything out, but nothing that I was hiding up until that point was something that I was hiding for my own sake, but for Asta's sake. You can call it Stockholm Syndrome if you want, but I'm not sure what else to call it. But to give you a brief explanation as to why I was covering for them for so long, it was because, for whatever reason in my head, I still felt some kind of attachment because I viewed them as my friend. Even after everything they subjected me to, and even after how poorly they treated me, I still felt some kind of sense of loyalty. Like, in the sense that I felt like if I threw them under the bus and just, like, told everyone the truth, I would be betraying a friend. Whether I had a moral obligation to or not, that really didn't seem as important to me at the time. So here are some important details that I, yes, have shared before, but I get the impression that most people didn't watch the 5-hour interview, and I don't blame you. Fuck you, No Miss Yell, for not cutting that down. Told you it needed to be digestible and you could just leave the unedited. Whatever, I'm rambling. But the important fact of the matter is that if I'm just an evil person and I'm a piece of shit, then that must make Asta Satan. On numerous occasions during this entire spectacle, it was baselessly alleged that this wasn't an isolated incident like I explained initially, and that apparently I regularly engage in this kind of behavior. The point I've been building up to is that you would have been right if you weren't accusing me of this, but instead the person you guys were portraying as the victim. Something that I don't know how anyone missed that happened in this call, visually of course, is when the recording party clicks on my profile and then clicks on Asta's profile, it is immediately revealed that Asta has already had someone else cut her name into their flesh. Would it come to you as any surprise that it was actually the person who clipped the call that was in her banner? Just a warning to anyone who might be showing this on a live stream, I'm going to show the following uncensored, simply because I don't think you'd be able to make out what it was if I didn't, but I'm going to crop it so that you don't have to see anything that's going on in the video call or in the text chat where they were posting explicit images, so it's just going to be the banners.
I don't think it.
It's okay. We all know what it is.
No, it
though.
is. Hold on.
This shows up right below the video call feed that everyone was so hyper fixated on, so I'm not going to buy any excuses that you just didn't notice it. It was right in front of you. Everyone who was referring to this call and using it to portray Asta as the victim, you're either one of two things: unbelievably fucking dense, or you're a liar. You're just a very dishonest cunt. I referenced it in this video, and I sort of went into detail in my initial response to the entire thing. But during my friendship with Asta, I was subject to blackmail, nearly constant sexual harassment and solicitation, constantly being manipulated, and extorted with my personal information for various things, including sexual favors. To make matters worse, I am far from the only person Asta has ever done this to. Now, before we continue, I'm obligated to let you know that I don't have receipts for the worst of the worst. However, what I do have receipts of is still really fucking bad. Most of the events that occurred during those months happened in voice calls that I didn't have the mind enough to record. On top of that, because I was constantly being extorted and blackmailed and threatened and taken advantage of, I felt like I was completely helpless. Like, there was nothing, even if I did get receipts and catch her in the act, not only would I partially feel guilty, but I felt that she could fuck me over and make shit up about me to a point where it wouldn't even matter if I had proof. However, on the bright side, there are countless, I have a boatload of screenshots that all line up with everything I've been saying, and they also blatantly contradict the narratives that people have been baselessly painting. And I feel that most people watching this probably didn't know, but these have been publicly available for you guys to go and look at, and my side of the story has been told in full. The reason you probably don't know is because because I recommended it to you, you saw that it was 5 hours, and you were like, I'm not watching all that. Fuck you, Nomus Yal, for not editing it. I think I even told you while we were recording that you need to edit it no matter what else you come up with to excuse yourself from doing all the editing. I even recommended that you just leave an unedited version for anyone who doubts the sincerity. Like, if anyone's wondering, no, it did not literally take me 5 hours to get my side of the story out. It took 5 hours for us to get through the recording process. And just so he doesn't throw a tantrum, Nomus, I'm very grateful that you were one of the few people who was actually willing to sit down and listen to my side and try to get the facts rather than just speculate and make baseless assumptions. I appreciate you being good faith throughout all of it, but you really did fuck me over by not editing that VOD. Anyway, I think we should really get into these screenshots. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of play them in a slideshow. So to start, here are some examples of her degeneracy. First one is the infamous screenshot of her referencing the cut sign that was in her banner. Allegedly, the source being Asta herself, they did this while they were sexting. The second one is proof of the cut sign and them talking about it. What it is they posted it in chat and said, I love Asta, and they were trying to have like a cutesy moment. The third screenshot displays her general attitude about self-harm. This one not only displays that she's trying to coerce people into doing it with her, but she also wants people to validate these behaviors. The fourth screenshot is just the updated group chat name after she named it Asta's Shodas. She threatened to dox me and try and get me cancelled if I continue making videos like I had in the past talking about how Lolicon is fucking sick and it's pedophilic. It should already go without saying that this is something we butted heads on and something I clearly didn't fucking approve of. She would also later go on to frequently make jokes about raping animals like dolphins and such. At first I thought she was joking. My plausible deniability here is that this is after she had leverage over me and she was already using it. So I didn't see this coming until long after the mistake had been made and she had leverage over me, so I wasn't aware. I didn't see it coming. With all that said, do what you will with this information. Oh, and one last little fun fact for you that none of you asked for. She had this thing where she would say that her special interest, because she's apparently autistic according to herself, was South Park. And part of that special interest was her writing fucking erotica of 8-year-olds getting raped. Again, I had long been caught in this bear trap due to my fucking foolish mistake of feeding into her self-destructive habits. I can't stress it enough that it was an isolated incident, and it wasn't until after she had all this leverage and she was actively trying to manipulate me that her true colors really started to shine. Next set of screenshots contradict to the narrative that everyone else is painting. Take this absolute downy here that can't help but misrepresent the situation and try to guilt trip anyone who dares associate with me. There are worse instances, and unfortunately this is frustratingly common for people to do this. Have you downies ever considered that maybe these people are still my friends because I'm not the bad person you guys immediately assumed I am? So next time you plan on trying to blackball me and trying to get my friends to all block me because you have a fucking irrational bias against me and you just want to see me fail, before you send them whatever you're about to send them, I want you to conceptualize the possibility that you are not the first person to attempt what you're doing. And you're not the first person to send them the same out-of-context clip. Understand that it's not just possible that you're not the first person to copy-paste a top 13 headcanons as to why you shouldn't associate with Kumo in their DMs. A majority of the things that are said about this subject are all built off of speculation. They are baseless fucking claims. And when I've even confronted people about the claims being baseless, they just try to laugh it off. What's clearly happening here is there's a bunch of people who already didn't like me that are taking advantage of this. What they're doing is they're taking this particular thing. Kumo did this one particular thing bad. One bad thing. Kumo did bad thing once. And now we're going to use that as the foundation for anything else we make up going forward. You are insane. And that's coming from the schizo. So to display things that contradict the narrative. First narrative being that this is something I regularly fucking do. It is an isolated incident. When you ask them what they have to suggest that it's happened before, they literally have nothing. Because the fact of the matter is, I have never done anything outside of this incident that is even remotely comparable. So here's a solid spit in the face. Literally 99% of all of our interactions that had to do with self-harm were the exact opposite of the out-of-context clip that everyone is cherry-picking. I'm not withholding anything. I'm not being disingenuous or bad faith at all. If you don't like what you're seeing, then cope harder, because there is nothing else that supports your narrative. Nothing screams that I have no fucking remorse, like doing the polar opposite of what I did in that clip. Anytime her and I were on the topic of self-harm, I was either discouraging her, or it was too late and she already did it, and I was encouraging her to clean up after herself and stop the bleeding. Would the person they're all telling you I am really be doing this shit? I'm astonished by the fact that you guys can so easily villainize the victim. And I don't even like calling myself the victim, but what else am I? I made a mistake, and many could say that I did more than pay the price for it due to everything I had to endure afterwards. Don't get me wrong, that wasn't the only mistake I made in the entire situation. I'm sure there are plenty other times where I didn't do anything that was like morally reprehensible afterwards, but in terms of mistakes, I probably did some things that were counterproductive, that probably dug my hole deeper. Not as in, like, she had more leverage, but as if I was giving her more control. But the narrative is all wrong. That has been my biggest problem. I'm not arguing. People aren't allowed to think I'm weird. I'm severely mentally fucking ill. I am not delusional enough to sit here and tell you that I'm not weird, or that I'm not odd, and that you shouldn't be concerned, or you shouldn't be wary when interacting with me. I'm not manic or anything, but I'm definitely not sane. There are a number of valid concerns people may have, and people who have those concerns might also have questions that are completely possible for them to get the answers to. However, most people, from what I can tell, don't want the answers to those questions. Instead, they'd rather make fallacious gotcha points and villainize me for internet brownie points. Another thing that I revealed whenever I dumped everything out for everyone to see is that when Asta learned that I started self-harming, she started celebrating and she was proud of herself, I guess because she thought she was responsible. Not out of malice, but out of delusion, because she saw cutting as a good thing, and she would often butt heads with me because I didn't do it for the same reasons she did. See, I did it because I felt an unbearable guilt, and I wanted to kind of atone for it in my own way, so that I could maybe live with myself after everything. So, forgive me if I've come off as delusional, because I think I, to some extent, have failed to properly communicate everything and try to get everything out there, and then when I attempted to, it wasn't fucking handled properly, so then nobody was going to listen to it. Asta extorted me, blackmailed me, manipulated me, took advantage of me in any way, I don't want to say any way you can think of, but hyperbolically, yes, any way you could think of, in a number of ways, some I'm probably not even thinking of right now. And behind the scenes, when she wasn't talking to me directly, I have screenshots of her referring to me as like a fucking pet project. Like, literally didn't even see me as a human being, but as an object. Those of you who continue to try and beat the dead horse and say, oh, didn't you make a girl cut herself? Well, I didn't make her do shit, first of all. It's made apparent at the very beginning of the clip that she's going to do it in the first place. So every time you bring that up, now everyone has the facts, and now everyone has the reality of what followed. The type of person that went and did it. This isn't me deflecting. This is relevant to what you are saying. I encouraged a monster to indulge in its self-destructive fucking habit. This fucking cave creature, this abomination, was victimized for the sake of you guys getting an easy jab at me. I also find something else really silly, this little instance that kind of happens whenever it's like been on live streams or people like want to go back and forth with me. But acknowledge that she's fucking mentally ill, and they'll kind of use that to excuse her degeneracy, and then they'll kind of take the same thing but not keep the same energy. They'll say that I'm mentally fucking ill, but I'm bad because I'm mentally ill. Make that shit make sense. At the end of recording this, I decided that since this took so long to go over because Jesus fucking Christ, this is probably going to be a follow or an optional watch, and it'll be in the description. It'll be a link in the description of the initial video, so if I succeed in setting that all up, this concludes explaining the context of what I was going after Peaches for.